bum, bum, bum. It says we're alive. Yeah. Folks, you would not believe the technology. Yeah, right. Like this is supposed to simplify our lives. I don't know about you. I have found that the so-called convenience has come at a great cost to us. I think both intelligent-wise, definitely spiritually. I mean, yeah, technology and spirituality. There's a question and a poll for everybody. Can the two coexist? Is one competing over the other? So yes, I'm over on the other channel, been working with Zoom, and it's, yeah, there's something to be said for simplicity. All the days, and I can actually say that still, although the beginnings of the baby boomers are now passing. Saturday, Christine McVie passed and made the transition, and which, I'm happy for her. She was a beautiful person. From what I have read, and, I don't know this personally, I don't know if anyone does except for her, but she was a very down-to-earth individual. She had a cottage, nothing extravagant. I mean, the woman is a millionaire 100 times over, but her surroundings were very humble. They were very close to nature. And I, for one, nothing like when you're 19, 20, 21, 22, to be immersed in some of the best music that we brought to humanity. Never in our written history now, that we know of, can you say that, the right moment at the right time, we brought rock and roll to the world. So, yes. So Christine, happy trails, my dear. Enjoy the journey. May it be joyful to you. And as Stevie Nicks wrote, we shall indeed all see you on the other side, dear. So, look forward to saying hello. So welcome, everybody. Thank you for coming over onto the other stream. Eventually I get it worked out. That's the way I looked at it. I'm not going to get frustrated with technology. Just refuse to allow that kind of control and power over my life. But, if anything ever gets entered into a computer that is not specifically correct, but yet it's in the computer, it's in the record, then you find out who is Lord. And that would be with a capital L. So welcome, everybody. Pacific Northwest Adventures, how are you doing? Favor be unto you. Danny, good to see you, darling. Lost in Space, Lion Rex, John Prince, how you doing, brother? Bryce, good to see you. Linda and Papa, is that Lee? Lie? How is that spoken specific? No Yoda, what's up? Divine Empress, Go and friends, good to see you as well. I think, Pacific Northwest, I'd agree with you. I think rock and roll is spiritual. I mean, I look back on it and again, wow, I mean, I rode that wave. It was, to be on my own at the age at 15, that was in 1970, folks. And growing up in, I've said this many, many times, but in the Montrose area in Houston, Texas, wow. What a trip, baby. What a trip. And then as things continued, and again, when you're in your early 20s, I mean, wow, you are Superman and Superwoman. You're, indefeatable. You're at your prime. And so they say. And if these angels age at what they're saying, could you imagine living your 20s, your early 20s, let's say up to 26. And that would be extended for a couple hundred years. Wow. I mean, what kind of music would Hendrix be playing by now? You know, you think about it, Morrison. I can just think of a whole slew. Joplin. Where would Janice be? What would she be singing? Would she be singing at all? You know, it's remarkable that Stevie Nicks is still out there because, you know, it won't be that much longer, and the creators of this magical gift to humanity will be gone. And maybe that was their sole mission. They brought us happiness. They brought us a rhythm, a frequency, a harmonic that at the time, even in the crap, and I mean, you know, 1970, 71, 2, all the way up to, you know, the mid 70s. I mean, it wasn't any picnic. Hello, Troublesome. What's up? I'm typing. Okay. Brian, what's up? Susie Q, good to see you. Bernadette as well. Sarah, how are you doing? It is a great study. We're going to get into it, and I'll just stop, but maybe for another program, maybe a great panel. If you're a boomer and because many of you write me and you say you've had similar life experience, I'd love to do, and I'm open invitation. Come on, let's do a show and let's talk about that. We all went through the same experience. I mean, Vietnam was a real reality for me. I remember, you know, my 18th birthday. I mean, you know, the draft was still there. It was the last year of the draft. Holy crap, Batman. I got a high number. So, and then the next year they did away with it. So anyway, oh yes. Oh, those times from long ago. Did you know, in studying, in reading, which is this time of year is perfectly suited for it. How many of you know the album from the Rolling Stones? I think it was in late 2000s, Bridges to Babylon. You can't help, you know, if I had the opportunity to sit down with Mick Jagger, I'd love to do the same thing with Jimmy Page, and talk to them about the knowledge they know. Jimmy Page is a wizard, no doubt about it. He's, as much as admit to it, he's deeply into the occult, a practicing magician and musician. So yeah. Gary Baxter, what's up? Have you seen Laurel Canyon? Yes. What's the scandal? That was such a time. The interesting thing about that series, by the way, Gary, was the fact that in Crosby, Stills, and Nash, that the first album, David Crosby and Graham Nash couldn't play an instrument, didn't know how to really write music. And Stephen Stills, when they put the demo together and it was necessary to start getting to the album, yeah, he wrote all the music anyway. Off we go, right? AFI says, yes, most musicians are magicians. They are. It's true. Yeah, think about, I've been fortunate enough, you know, as a roadie for the brief time in my life when I experienced that energy, even behind stage, you know, when you're back with all the empty speaker boxes and, you know, the tractor trailers pulling in there. Man, I mean, the energy is palatable. And then to be focused on that and then to channel that energy back into it. Wow. I remember when I saw David Bowie. I mean, what a concert, man. I mean, there's been some good ones, but anyway, music is the magic. Ain't that the fact? So cheers, everybody. Someone wrote me and said that there are those who get mad at some of the things that I say or do. Well, I don't know what to say to that. As I wrote back to you, show me who's perfect. Everyone has a choice, or at least we hope we do. I mean, we may be delightfully deluded ourselves into a delusion of such, but isn't it fun thinking that way? Rick Wakeman, yeah, that was a interesting. I saw that concert in Houston, Texas, with a piano where he was going up. Yeah, that's some crazy stuff, man. Alice Cooper was a trip. I just got to tell you, enjoyed it. She walks into the room. Yeah, everybody else, like, yeah, that was some interesting times. Anyway, I digress. So, I don't know. Keep an open mind. They always say, take the higher path. If someone says something that pisses you off, well, that's all right. It's when they piss on you that, then you may have something to talk about. Just agree to disagree. I love that attitude. That was it. We almost captured it. We really did. Yeah. I think laughing as a philosopher, I look back at it and I watch those shows that was some interesting philosophy taking place. That was some open-minded thinking. You if you haven't ever seen Laugh In, go get it, watch it. It's on YouTube. Check it out. Yeah. Sock it to me, baby. That's all I got to say. So, we got a lot of stuff to cover. So, in putting all of this together, I came across a couple of interesting things. I want to share them with you. First of all, this is when I had the night visitor. This is, and I'm not going to get into it because it's an extensive program, but I came across this and I thought it was interesting in the writing. I think this happened in, I don't know, 3, maybe 4 years ago. It says, and it's interesting, the knowledge that was extracted by torture from the captured aliens, and by the way, we haven't discussed this in this conversation, but humans have in fact captured angels and demons. It's interesting because you don't hear a lot about that, but check me out, do your own research. It's very evident that there are those among us who are not human. They can certainly look like they are, but they ain't. And apparently we are really good as a species at torture. If you buy into the fallen angel theology, dogma, then they taught us torture. Now, that's some weird thinking. It gets pretty heavy when you think about these aliens, and that's what they are. They're aliens. They're not human. I don't know. You can call them angels, demons, whatever you want, but they're aliens. And our nightmares and, the depictions of some of the most grotesque things that are out there, I have no doubt that many of that is true. I think that they allow certain humans that have the creative gift, that which is grafted into their DNA, of drawing, imagination. Imagination is a powerful thing, as they would say. Apparently, we don't have it. But getting back to the point, so they taught us torture, which implies that they were using torture before man, Homo sapien. And then which version are they talking about? Is it sapiens? Is it Neanderthal? Is Cro-Magnon? I mean, is it the other 8 or 9 different genesis of us? I mean, this is all modern day. because I don't interpret that when Michael is speaking to a child of clay, that he's going, all right, is this a sapien or is this a Cro-Magnon? Is this a Denivisan? Is this, so if you're buying into the story, and this covers everything, virtually every philosophy, every religion, if you're buying into it, then by admission, you have to say, well, then this is a relatively new story about creatures, aliens, who are much longer lived than us. And apparently we're already pretty well jacked. I mean, they got some real freaks here. That's all I got to say. This whole band of aliens, then they identify themselves as angels. And hey, the demons, we'll get into them right quick as well. It seems like they will screw something up even if it wasn't screwed up to begin with. So anyway, this gets into the fact that in this visitor, when he was here, what the visitor said, we got information from these angelics and apparently from demons as well. In fact, in some cases, because they had to have a human form, they can't simply transition just like that. And when they're in the human form, apparently there is a difference of even blood. So imagine if you're a human, let's say you are a wizard, a sorcerer, a witch. You know about these things. You're well versed. More importantly, you know how to identify them. You know how to trap them. Because once you trap them, then you can basically get the information out of them. Now, take that a step further. So if you're extracting information, that means you would also probably want to get some DNA, wouldn't you? I mean, what type of bodies are these? It did a really good job, I think, in the movie, what was it, The Prophecy, of what happens to these angels. And if you remember in the movie, I believe it was Raziel who was killed. And, they don't, their eyes are different than ours. They're black. They have the ability of what would be considered superhuman strength. So anyway, my point to all this, as I get along here, we injected, much like we always seem to screw up, that genetic material into the human legacy, our DNA. And so today, the point is this, and sometime I'll get back into this, was that we're all hybrids. Give me 1 second here as he goes over here. So anyway, I'll get that closed out. So there are no true humans. Brings up another part of this study. So children of clay, then how do we begin to define that? Is, you think about clay and that term, clay is made up of a million of myriad of other things. So yeah, let's see. Angelo says, I believe that we all have angels and demons, hybrids, and that both are there to protect us, and that we need to learn is how we feed them at the right time. Interesting. I love that. That's I dig that. All right, so I want to get into this study. Here we go. Books that if you want to get into this, because we're going to get into some of the demons now as we wrap up with the angels, but there is some just interesting books that are out here. The Demons of the Flesh is one of those books. It is on an academic level, but that doesn't scare us. We all can read. But it's interesting because the demons have been the ones who have faltered or been faulted for corrupting sex. Now, if you just dissect that, then what are the type of sex are they talking about? I mean, no, this is not for this particular topic, but yeah. Actually, there is one of the things, and I don't know if it's in this one or another, but apparently, again, if you don't have these in your digital library, you should have them. It's worth a study. All of these in understanding that if we have the archangels, if you go by again the dogma, then Satan has mirrored the kingdom of God. And that's from a theological point of view, and so he would mirror or mimic that which was perfect, and we get into all that. But so they have a structure. I knew about this, studied from some of the best in my days in Christianity. The point that I'm trying to get to, and I want to get into this is another good one. I know Robert V was talking about, well, what about angels in the Islamic world? No, they're everything we have came from the Middle East. Now, Islam was a kind of late coming to the party, but nevertheless, it still falls under the canopy of the Abrahamic belief systems. Excuse me, folks. Sorry about that, everybody. My stepdaughter's dog is just psycho. I mean, he is nuts. So didn't want you to hear that. When he hears someone come to the door, he just freaks out. So anyway, shall we continue? Let me get, there we go. All right. Another book that I find interesting is this one. The question has always been, well, all right, so you've got these angels. Do angels possess humans? Well, the answer is yes. I don't know how we would define the Holy Spirit in this case, but in order to have this power endued from on high, you have to be baptized in the Holy Spirit. According to the 2nd chapter of Acts. Yeah, it had to be a scene. But here's the interesting thing. It says, can a Christian be demon possessed? It's not one or mere academic or theological interest, but one of profound implications. If the Christian can be demon possessed, then this opens up a source of problems for the believer, which entails its own array of solutions, including exorcism, deliverance, and supernatural healings, the mechanics of which are not revealed in Scripture. If any of a believer's problems or failures can be blamed on Satan or a demon as the source of that problem, then this places the believer in the role of unwitting victim and releases him from responsibility of the future. This is really an interesting book. Now, it's from I think it's Christian, but it's also, I think, has a lot of opened aspects of it. We've talked about this before, but And then there is one last thing that I found interesting in this one, because I want to get to the Children of Fire. There is a certain knowledge that within particularly some of the old beginnings of Catholicism, that Catholicism, even today, is, well, face it, they got idols all over the place. They worship idols. They have stories of their idols becoming human-like, bleeding. I mean, just the story is rampant. From the Catholics, we get the understanding of what exorcism is. How is that done? Why is it done? One of the things that I found always interesting in the times when I was in the religion was, again, I've spoken about this, but it ties in perfectly. The book of Mark was never written by anyone named Mark. It was an outline, and it was added to, and so and many different people contributed to it. And it always amazes me is how did it ever make it on the canon of, you know, the official canonical books? But be that as though it is may, if you want to study about demons, go and read the book of Mark. It's quite fascinating. These beings, I mean, we didn't get in the Old Testament, but we certainly do, and introduced into this modern era, I'd say within the last 2,000 years is what I'm talking about, where all of a sudden all this knowledge starts being poured in by a guy who is supposedly an alien or hybrid. Any way you want to slice it and dice it, if the story is true, then it's a hybrid. It's not human. Maybe part human, but it's not all human. But anyway, as you look at this, he introduces humanity to this thing about demons, that they can actually take possession of another human spirit, body, I don't know, soul. And when I was studying to actually convert to Judaism, one of the things I couldn't understand was this 400 or 500 year gap from the book of Malachi to what was supposedly the beginning of Matthew. And yet, this cat, this rabbi, whatever you want to call him, is going around casting out demons. Now, I can't find anything in the Hebrew text that instructs anyone about how you rid a body of a demon. But we have very clear, someone wrote it, of apparently that this cat could actually do that. So it also indicates that there was a lot of this taking place, and I mean a lot. I'm sitting here and I just recall the fact that it said that in every village, every town and city that Jesus walked in, the very first thing he did was cast out demons. Very first thing. So that sounds to me like a freaking plague. I mean, come on. I mean, these villages, folks, weren't these metropolitan areas. I mean, the population wasn't huge. It's small. You may have less than 50 people. And if you've got, let's just say 10, maybe 15 people that seem to be demon possessed, well, folks, I mean, that's like 15% of the population. That's serious. That's serious, because if they can be demon possessed, that means apparently all of us can be potentially demon possessed. So out of that, when you get into the Kabbalah that, you know, the Christian religion borrowed heavily from, that you now have this whole structure, this whole hierarchy that we're talking about now. And yet the common, the straights in the world, they don't want to talk about this shit. No way. Because if that Rhema ever penetrates that darkness of mind, and that's what it is, it's far easier to ignore it than to even be aware of it. If you're not even aware of it, what does it matter to you? So anyway, the magic thing we will get back into. Trust me on this one. All right. So we left with Samuel. All right, the bad guy. So this implies again that these angels were corrupt, that apparently there was this problem that this God, the Almighty, Yahweh, the Lord, however you want to define it, apparently can't conquer. Apparently it's out of his control. Because it would seem to me, and I realize I'm just a mere mortal man speaking, the angels look at us as talking simians, that I'm sitting here going, okay, so you're blaming me again for this sin problem, but it appears that it was way before we ever came along. Again, the metaphor rings true. Someone's dumping their trash all over us and telling us that, hey, we're the reason the trash was there to begin with. I didn't know anything about it. Doesn't matter. All right, so Samuel, the poison angel, is ruler of the second heaven. So hell is in heaven. That changes a whole lot because, in all the things you get the depictions of people being drawn up. Well, that's where the firmament is. So that's where they're going to be drawn up. But, now it's part of heaven. And then that just gets you in the whole thing. All right, so heaven is hell. Hell is heaven. But heaven isn't all of hell, but hell is in heaven. What the hell's going on here, for heaven's sake? I don't know. His great palace rests in the center of this realm of darkness. Is that the void? From here, he commands legions of demons to go into the world and contest the will of the Almighty. Okay. And by the way, we're going to learn that angels apparently don't have offspring. They do have sex. It's the demons who are not restricted by these laws and rules that apparently they are a prolific bunch. So Lilith was right on that. Once the mightiest and the brightest of all angels, Samael has fallen so far. Now his rage at the children of clay consumes his core. This hideous hatred drives him to separate mankind from their creator. There is no other goal for him. Well, I may not be the brightest bulb in the pack, but you know what? Again, so here we come along. And before we even get out of the box, we got some creature here that's already apparently just pissed at us, and we didn't do anything. Most of this work is accomplished by the dukes of hell and their underlings. But on occasion, Samuel himself travels to the material realm. One such occurrence happened at the time of Moses' death. You can read this in the book of Jude. Samuel himself went to contend for the body of the great patriarch. Upon taking possession of the body, so he had possession. However, allow me up there, he was confronted by Michael, Gabriel, and Raphael. For the second time, Michael bested the accursed one, in the physical combat. So this is an actual physical combat. I mean, we could have witnessed this. I wonder if we did. Samuel tells the story differently, though. In his version, he withdrew of his own volition, realizing such a confrontation did not serve his aims. Though the true atrociousness of his form is beyond words, Samuel often depicts himself as a handsome and charismatic figure. When presenting himself to the children of clay, he disguises himself as the most upstanding and honorable of gentlemen. Didn't they make a whole series on this thing? I think they did. The king of hell has long since realized that the subtle approach far outweighs the direct one. He corrupts mankind with sweet words and plausible arguments. Okay, here's my counter to that. I believe it's in Isaiah 44, I believe, maybe 45. And God says, and it literally says this, go and check me out on this. He says, remind me of your ways. He said, come and sit down with me and argue. Argue your merits. All right. I didn't put it out there. It did. So how is this now, how is this used in corruption? I mean, if God says, I welcome you, come down there and remind me about who you are, right? Because I'm a busy dude. Okay, all right. So probably looks over at the, chief scribe angel and says, no, where's the name? And he says, all right, pulls it up. And he says, come and argue your merits. I'm just saying, asking for a friend. Samuel has taken 4 wives for himself. Agrat, Bat, Matlat, and Isabeth, Zinium are angels of prostitution. Lilith was once the wife of Adam until she was rejected by him. It is said that she is Samuel's favorite bride. Finally, Namad is Samuel's most sensual wife. She is the greatest seductress heaven or earth has ever seen. She lusts after both demons and the sons of Adam. Samuel encourages her in this lecherous behavior. Wow, that's got sex written all over it. I mean, I'm just seeing XXXXX, and I'm going, okay. So again, I mean, if you were talking about putting us together, there's really no reason physiologically, for humans to mate. Apparently, the first one of us didn't have to. It could self-reproduce. I mean, it would take a whole lot out of the equation, right? I mean, if someone said, go fuck yourself, you can already say, I already did. Be completely honest and serious about it. Because I think that's where that expression came from. But this little tidbit here, we got the names. Do your own research. Check out who these angels are. Angels of prostitution. And isn't it interesting at all of the temples that were throughout, the time of Jacob and, Isaac, that the temples had temple prostitutes. If you read the story, and I believe it is, I think it may be Isaac, could be wrong on this, Jacob, where he had sex with one of these temple prostitutes and left his staff. Big no-no back in the day. And so the prostitute got a hold of the staff. She basically controlled him. Yeah. And so Lilith, so was Adam a virgin after Lilith? Was Adam a virgin when Eve came along? I'm confused. And the thing that I still can't figure out is then where the hell did Cain come into play with Eve? Who got into the genetic pool on that one? I don't know. But apparently this thing with sex is everywhere in in hell. Now, okay, I mean, this just opens up a whole litany of a whole different ideas. Figure it out for yourself, but it is interesting, and it's one of these things I got to tell you, because I checked it out over within YouTube, and there's not a whole lot about the fact that demons and sex are like this, and that it's not the humans that so much lust after having sex with demons or spirits. I don't know what you would call them. Ethereal beings, I don't know. But apparently they're lusting after us. I mean, that is kind of what an incubus and succubus is all about, right? Brings it all into really interesting arenas. So we have Shem, Asha, the old great Shem, this is a name, Shem Asha, how you've disappointed our father. Your betrayal was far worse than that of the accursed one. The Almighty trusted you with the souls of his children, capital C. Now, is he talking about us? Is he talking about another race? His children. I'm again just asking for a friend. And instead of protecting them, and your kind buckled to the petty urges of the flesh. Wow. Again, where did the flesh come into? Was Adam the first of the flesh? I mean, I don't think so. Even in the book of Genesis, you can't explain the Genesis 1:26 people, the blackhead people. Yeah. So the book of promises. Shem Ashash, and I'm sure I messed that up. Actually, I think I got that right, was the leader of the 200 Grigori sent to earth to teach and protect the children of clay. And again, it's a small c. The chiefs of 10 would take no action without his say-so. He was the watcher who taught men to grow and harvest crops. This innovation caused humans to prosper and thrive. So I just want to insert here. So thinking on timeline, so we have the Sumerian record. We have actual dates that, by the way, are pre-biblical. So I often wonder, are these fallen angels, could we put them under the same structure of Enki and Inyel? Because if these Grigori actually are the fallen angels, then who are they teaching this to? And the only record that we have that actually apparently brought agriculture, and get this, and how to master the water by building canals, were the Sumerians. So think about this. Is this what we're talking about here? I don't know. It makes you wonder, because the fact is, it seems like the Sumerians were just taught overnight. We don't know how they discovered the wheel, the sail, agriculture, how to turn the soil, how to build it in rows and mounds. I mean, we don't know where this information comes. Is this what we're reading here? And then it brings into the question, then, why did they remove the history of the giants? Because the gap that we're now finding very clear is that these Gagori mated with women, and their offspring were the Anakim and the Nephilim. Like the rest of his breed, Shem-Mahesh became covetous of the flesh of the children of clay. He had 2 children with human women, Hiwa and Hiwa. These 2 giants were ravenous creatures. It is said that every day they consumed 1,000 horses, 1,000 camels, and 1,000 oxen. Let your own imagination run with that one. When there was not enough to satiate their appetite, they feasted on humans. And that's exactly what we read in the book of King Og. It's exactly what he said. So now it's getting really interesting as to who and what these angels actually are. They're not these beautiful creatures that they're depicted to be, unless they're beguiling us. But heck, I mean, you know, if they're eating 1,000 horses, 1,000 camels, and 1,000 oxen, wonder how many humans it would take to satiate that appetite. Now that's hell. Woo! Oh, I mean, that's just wrong on so many levels, just wrong. Says that Shem was appalled by his progeny and would have nothing to do with them. Despite his disgust, the Gagori leader went on ravaging the flesh of human men and women. Okay. Again, we are the ones, we're not even at the bottom of the totem pole, folks. We're not even on the tree. When God passed judgment, and let me just ask this a question again for a friend. Where the hell was God while all this was going on? What, was he on vacation? I mean, okay, let's continue. When God passed judgment on these wretched creatures, ordering them all to be brought to heaven for punishment, it was Michael and Uriel who were able to do with great difficulty and to subdue this mighty creature. They brought him before the Almighty, who judged that he would spend the rest of eternity tormented in his transgressions. He was hung upside down over the great flame. Daily, the angels of punishment filleted his skin with dull knives. So, again, let's just stop this and just dissect this one. So, would not a punishment be just in his existence? I mean, you snapped his finger like the Q did. You're gone. They don't even remember you. There ain't nothing anymore. But instead, we have this sadistic, I mean, sick psychopath. I mean, come on. What kind of mind says, well, what I'm going to do to punish you is that I'm going to hang you upside down over a flame. So that implies that he's feeling pain. So don't tell me that after death you don't feel pain. And daily, these angels of punishment, I don't even know what they would look like. But they fillet his skin with dull knives. What a graphic description, but more frightening is this is the reality of what we're dealing with. As I said in the title of today's little lesson, is that, all right, angels, demon hybrids. If there's this war that's been foretold in all the books, and so as you read this, I mean, really, would you really want to exist in either one of these realms? I mean, I don't know about you, but I don't have any friends that, you know, this is what they do. Well, how was work today? That was a bloody mess. You know, I mean, okay. Sometime after the flood, when Hiwa and Haya were killed, Now, we read that story in the book of Og, the moonbeam, because we now know that the Nephilim and the Achaman, they when they reproduced, it was mostly males. Females were exceptionally rare and subsequently also very valuable. It says that Shem was able to escape. No one is quite sure how he managed this feat. He fled to earth and has not been heard from since. Assuredly, he is scheming against those who punished him and is almost certainly still indulging in his evil transgressions. I mean, folks, this is the thing. Again, you just shake your head on this. Because, again, I am just a simple man. This ain't right. Why the hell did you put me into this thing? Hey, I appreciate my consciousness and everything else, but you put me into something that I was never equipped to be in to begin with. Unless you consider yourself to be an angel, then you got blood on your hands, brother and sister. That's all I got to tell you. You got blood on your hands. I don't think I'd want to be an angel or a demon in this scenario, because they both have blood of humans on their hands, and they apparently don't think much about it either. Now, why the hell would a human worship such a creature? Listen, if an angel doesn't have blood on its hand, then the reason for Adam's sin is unjust. This God condemned an entire genus of man. So if one angel has slayed one human, brought forth one drop of human blood, they're all guilty. They all have blood on their hands. What the hell would you want to deal with that? All right, let's get on to the rest of these fallen angels, the bad ones here. Astroth is one of the 10 dukes of hell. He is considered by those who've met him to be the most civil of the fallen angels. Well, I'm glad that there's a certain couth about them, right? Chivalry is not dead. His place in the second heaven does not show so many of the depraved trappings of most of the other dukes. His quarters are emasculated and rather devoid of horrors. It is in the great hall of this place that he talks philosophy with his demon kin. I don't know about you, but I wouldn't mind attending a class like that. I would find it fascinating. I mean, in a civil sense, why not? Isn't that what philosophy is about? It says Astroth is the architect of many of Samuel's most effective ploys to corrupt the children of clay. It is said that he was the one who came up with the story to portray his master, Samuel, as a dutiful servant punished unfairly by an inconsistent God. Okay, what I've read so far, I ain't a real big fan of the fact that someone screwed this up. He is not a great warrior or fierce in the nature as some of his brethren. He prefers to win his battles with words and gentle persuasions. He is the official scribe of hell, though there seems to be little prestige in such a position. Nonetheless, he dutifully writes down his thoughts and those of his master. I wouldn't like to get that book. Astroth has on many occasions traveled to Earth. While in the material realm, the hidden shape he takes is almost always the same. He transforms himself into a man of small stature, with a white suit, a handlebar mustache, and wiry spectacles. He is the very picture of an unassuming soul. For the children of clay, however, his words are most devastating than the most gruesome of weapons. I don't know where they got the white suit, okay, but I do recall in, Genesis 12, the three angels. So they wore robes back then, tunics. I guess that could be the suit. The handlebar mustache and the wiry spectacles. I don't know. When I see that, I always think of the Monopoly Man. When I first read that, I said, well, what the hell? But you think about the game of Monopoly. I mean, that's just a game of greed. That's all that is. Just saying. I mean, but you think about this. So isn't this how the Jesus character won over all the masses on his part? I mean, isn't that what the Beatitudes are about? His philosophy, his point of view, his religion. I don't know. I'm sure he would probably argue that and say, wait a minute, I never had a religion. I'm just sitting on a hill talking. Had the band play, got the audience warmed up. But I mean, so here again, where thought is concerned, now we have thought being used, and apparently quite devastatingly, as a weapon. I don't know. For me, this at times it just gets to the point where, and so we'll pick up here tomorrow on this one, and we'll wrap this up tomorrow as well. We'll get a little bit more into the demons. I mean, I look at the condition of our world today. I mean, it's what's coming is not going to be pleasant. And I haven't seen a overwhelming positive power of thought. Even amongst our circle, there's divisions. So just how ascended are we? I mean, is ascension even possible? I'm reading books now, that out there on, 12D, hell, forget the 5D. We're all the way into 12D. And, from a science perspective, I don't think you can define what a fifth dimension is. I don't think you can define from a science position what the 12th dimension is. If you can show it to me, I'd love to read it. Because I don't know what the 12th dimension is. I have a difficult time grasping the third dimension, much less the fourth, fifth, sixth, or seventh. It's not that I don't, you can interpret that if there are 7 regions of heaven, then there would be 7 different dimensions. I mean, that's a way you can interpret that. Each dimension has its own science, its own laws, its own characteristics. But hey, Elderberry, what's up? I did speak favor all over us today. Favor to us all. That's the way I look at it. But Must Grace, I remember my brother cheating at Monopoly all the time. Yeah. It invokes every aspect of lust, greed. I mean, and forget family. Well, they're just there to be screwed. And yeah. I'm reading some of the Tennessee Williams. How are you doing? Good to see you, Big Daddy. I'm just talking, it's like, at least I'm putting it out there. I don't know what the 12th dimension, what it would be like. I can't fathom because we don't have laws that would define that. I understand the first dimension. I understand the second dimension. And I'm still pretty much grappling with the third dimension. But, if you're telling me to go beyond the XYZ axis, then explain to me then, what are we dealing with here? I mean, what type of structure is it? I don't know. Hey, Kent, what's up? Good to see you, Grace. Hello. So this is just discussion, folk. I'm just putting it out there because we do a lot of studying here. A lot of people that are very talented and gifted. in tarot, palmistry, divination tools. I mean, it's interesting. Everybody wants to know the future, but they never want to know the exact time of their death. I mean, wouldn't that be the ultimate of a person who truly can see into the future? Would you want to know your exact time of death? Would you like to be told right to this today, this is the time you're going to die, and this is how you're going to die? You know why we don't want to know? Because our consciousness is designed to reject our own mortality. Each and every one of us live in this illusion that, yes, death happens, but it ain't happening to me today. Weird. Thank you, Kent. Thank you. I appreciate that. That blissed me, my friend. Thank you. That's very kind. This is the kind of stuff that I think we should all talk about. I mean, you know, I'm just putting it out there. It's all connected. Death is real. We do, in fact, ascend to somewhere. Now, if the modern man, this is what our reality is, we're going to be ascending into something that, as one person said when her husband spoke back to her, this is way beyond anything I could have ever imagined. I have no doubt of that. I don't know what actually to expect, because again, I'm reading two different realities here that is so messed up. The one that's supposed to be pure, holy, the angels singing and all that, it's fucked up, folks. And this place called hell, which everyone says that, you know, you hear people say, oh, go to hell all the time. We're always telling people to go there. Come to find out, it's in heaven. I mean, how messed up is that? Ay, 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 ay. It's messed up, man. That's all I got to tell you. It is just totally messed up. And, you know, I keep on saying it. The Mandela effect has changed it, but I'm old enough that I still remember it. Is that, Lucy, you got some explaining to do, because your shit ain't coming true here. I don't know what's going on, but something ain't right. Something ain't right. All right. Well, thank you, Brian. Appreciate it. Isn't that what it's always do? Keep us thinking. We got to get these questions. I mean, who knows? We may never get them answered, even when we transcend to the other side. I don't know. I don't think that we're suddenly endued with all knowledge. I really don't. And then that's a freaky thought, because that means you're going to be transcending over with the knowledge you have right now. Well, you know, if you only took one side of knowledge, only one version of it, holy crap. I mean, that's like having the book and all you want to do is take out the first preface. You don't read the rest of it. Well, I had the book. Did you read it? Hell no. I just thought I could get, yeah. Dirty, filthy money. Good to see you. All right. We'll see y'all tomorrow. That's all I can say. Enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you. Thank you for hitting the like button on the way out. Thank you for your time. It's the most valuable thing that you have. And so what a joy. Thank you, all the moderators. And I love reading the comments and all for everyone else. I'm just asking for a friend, right? That's all they say. All right. Peace out, everybody. We'll